Rashid had always been a man who seemed to have it all. From the outside, his life looked perfect. He was a successful millionaire, running a chain of businesses that stretched across the city and beyond. His office towered above the streets, filled with sleek glass walls and high-tech equipment. People admired him for his work, and strangers often whispered about the life he led. But behind all the luxury and applause, Rashid carried a quiet emptiness. He had money, power, and a beautiful house, but he had neglected the one thing that mattered most: his relationships. Over the years, work had swallowed his life, leaving little room for anything else. His marriage to Amina, the woman he loved deeply, had slowly become a series of missed dinners, late nights at the office, and brief, awkward conversations. That Wednesday afternoon, something inside Rashid shifted. For the first time in years, he felt an urge to do something unusual. He looked at the clock in his office and decided, without hesitation, to leave early. He grabbed his coat, stepped into the busy streets, and let himself walk slowly for a while. The warm sunlight touched his face, and he realized he had almost forgotten what it felt like to enjoy a simple walk. The city was alive with its usual energy: children laughing on the sidewalks, street vendors calling out to passers-by, and cars humming as they moved through traffic. For a brief moment, Rashid allowed himself to breathe and feel like a normal man rather than a millionaire with endless responsibilities. When he arrived at his driveway, Rashid felt a strange sense of unease. His house was enormous, a modern marvel with polished glass doors and soft lights lining the pathway. Usually, the garden lights glimmered even during the day, and the faint sound of music or his home assistant's gentle voice welcomed him. But today, everything was quiet. The house seemed almost empty. Shrugging off the uneasy feeling, he pressed the doorbell. There was no response. He tried the handle; it wasn't locked. A chill ran through him as he stepped inside. The silence inside the house was heavy, almost suffocating. Every corner of the large living room was perfectly clean, as if no one had lived there for weeks. But on the sofa, carefully placed on a small pillow, was a single handwritten note. Rashid picked it up and read the words slowly. Rashid, I can't stay here anymore. I need to find myself. I hope you understand. The note trembled slightly in his hands. Rashid's mind raced. Amina. She had left. He knew immediately she had meant every word. A decade of marriage, 10 years of shared dreams, laughter, and memories gone, in a few short sentences. Rashid sank into the nearest chair, gripping the note tightly. His thoughts collided in confusion and regret. He remembered the small things he had missed over the years: her birthday last year when he had been too busy with a board meeting, the weekends he cancelled because he had to prepare presentations, the evenings when he ignored her stories about her day because he was scrolling through business reports. He had assumed that love would wait for him, that she would always be there. But now, reality hit him like a wave crashing against rocks. He walked slowly through the house, each room stirring memories. The dining room reminded him of their first dinner together, years ago. Amina had laughed so freely, and he had felt a happiness he could not describe. The kitchen smelled faintly of her favorite spices, though no one had cooked there in days. Every corner spoke of her presence, yet she was nowhere to be found. Rashid's eyes fell on the window of the bedroom. The curtains were drawn slightly, letting in slivers of light that painted the room in warm tones. The bed was neatly made, almost as if she had prepared it for him one last time. He closed his eyes, feeling a weight in his chest. How had it come to this? How had the love of his life walked away without a fight? A faint sound made him turn toward the hallway, a soft click, like a door being closed somewhere in the house. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be that she had not left completely? He rushed to the hallway but found nothing. The house was empty, except for him and the echo of his own footsteps. Rashid sank onto the floor, leaning against the wall. For the first time in years, he felt truly alone. Money, wealth, and possessions felt meaningless. The achievements he had chased so relentlessly seemed hollow now. He realized that success without love, without connection, was nothing. He unfolded the note again, reading the words over and over. "I hope you understand." Rashid shook his head. He didn't understand. Not yet. He didn't know how to fix what had been broken, or if it was even possible. But he knew one thing: he could not lose her without trying. Rashid sat in silence for a long while, letting the reality sink in. The city outside continued its bustling life, unaware of the storm raging inside his heart. And for the first time, he promised himself that he would change. If Amina was still out there, if she gave him even a small chance, he would do everything he could to bring her back, not with gifts or money, but with love, attention, and presence. The millionaire, who once thought he had it all, realized that he had almost lost the most important thing in his life. And he knew, deep down, that today was only the beginning of a long, uncertain journey. Rashid spent the rest of the afternoon in a quiet daze. The house, which had once felt like a fortress of comfort, now seemed like a museum of memories he could no longer touch. Every room reminded him of Amina: her laughter, the way she organized flowers on the table, the softness of her footsteps in the hallway. Yet she was gone, leaving only an echo of her presence. Unable to sit still, Rashid decided to search the house for any clue. Perhaps she had left something behind, a message beyond the note, or a hint about where she had gone. He started with the living room, examining the furniture, the shelves, even the corners of the carpet. Everything looked untouched, perfectly arranged. It was as if the house had been waiting for him to notice the absence of the one person who made it a home. In the study, Rashid found her notebook on the desk, open to a blank page. He hesitated, wondering if he should read it. A part of him feared what he might discover: words of frustration or disappointment he had never considered. Still, curiosity and a longing to understand her drove him closer. He flipped through the pages, and there, in neat handwriting, were fragments of her thoughts. "I feel invisible. Rashid works so hard, but I feel alone. I miss him, but I also need to find myself. I hope he will notice before it's too late." Reading those words, Rashid felt a sharp pang in his chest. He had known he was busy, but he had never realized how lonely Amina felt. He had assumed that love could survive on shared wealth and occasional dinners. Now, he understood how wrong he had been. Determined to find answers, Rashid moved to the kitchen. He opened cupboards, drawers, and even the refrigerator, half expecting to find a message tucked away like a secret. There was nothing. But on the counter, he noticed her favorite teacup, still warm from the morning. He picked it up, holding it close, remembering how she would smile whenever she made tea for him. It was a small, ordinary thing, but in that moment, it carried the weight of 1,000 memories. Rashid's mind wandered to the past few months. He remembered the arguments he had dismissed as trivial, the missed birthdays, the evenings when he had chosen work over dinner. Each memory felt like a mistake he could never undo. He wondered if she had left suddenly, or if this had been building over time, like a storm forming quietly before the rain. Suddenly, a sound from the garden caught his attention. Rashid hurried to the sliding glass door and peered outside. There was no one there, only the soft rustling of leaves and the sunlight glinting off the fountain he had installed for her. He stepped out, hoping to find a note or perhaps a message left behind. Nothing. Yet, the feeling that someone had been there recently lingered. Rashid decided he could not wait any longer. He had to call her. He grabbed his phone and dialed Amina's number. The phone rang, and rang, but there was no answer. The voicemail greeted him instead, calm and routine, a reminder of how ordinary life continued even when his world had shifted. He tried calling again, each ring increasing the ache in his chest. Finally, in a moment of frustration, he left a message, his voice trembling slightly. "Amina, it's me. I'm home early, and I found your note. Please. I don't know what to do. I just want to understand. Call me when you can." After hanging up, Rashid sank into the garden chair, staring at the fountain's gentle flow. He felt the weight of silence around him, heavier than any meeting or boardroom he had ever faced. For the first time, he realized that money could not fix what was broken. No luxury, no expensive gifts, no promises from afar could replace the time he had lost. As the evening approached, Rashid noticed a small envelope on the patio table. He had not seen it before. With trembling hands, he opened it and found a photograph of Amina smiling, holding a small plant she had grown on the balcony months ago. On the back, in her handwriting, were a few simple words: "I love you, but I need space. Please think about what matters most." Rashid held the photograph close, tears welling in his eyes. He realized she had not left in anger, she had left because she wanted him to see what he had taken for granted. She still loved him, but she needed him to understand that love required attention, care, and presence, not just wealth. The sun began to set, casting golden light across the garden. Rashid felt a new determination rising within him. He could not change the past, but he could fight for the future. He promised himself that he would not let Amina go without trying everything he could. He would show her that he could be the husband she had always deserved, that he could prioritize love over business, and that he could rebuild the connection they had lost. Rashid knew the journey would not be easy. Healing the distance of years would take time, patience, and understanding. But for the first time, he felt clarity. He had been shocked by her absence, shaken by her note, and stirred by her words. Now, he was ready to act. For the first time in a long while, Rashid felt hope. The millionaire, who had once measured life by money and success, was learning that true wealth lay in love, understanding, and the simple moments shared with the people who mattered most. And somewhere out there, he knew Amina was waiting, hoping he would find the courage to reach her before the night grew too dark. Rashid could not stop thinking about Amina. Every corner of his house reminded him of her. Every object seemed to carry a memory of her laughter, her voice, or the little things she used to do. He realized that waiting quietly was not enough. If he wanted to see her again, he had to take action. He started by checking everywhere she might have gone. He called her friends, her sister, and even her colleagues, hoping someone had seen her. Each call brought little news. Everyone said the same thing: Amina had not mentioned where she was going. It was as if she had disappeared without a trace, leaving only the note and her words behind. Rashid's heart sank. He felt helpless. He had thought that wealth could solve everything, but now he realized money could not buy presence, attention, or love. No one could tell him where she was. She had made a choice, and now it was up to him to find her, not through force, but through understanding. He decided to visit the places she loved. First, he went to the small cafe she used to visit every Saturday morning. The barista remembered her and smiled politely when he asked about her. "She hasn't been here this week," the barista said gently. "But she always loved the corner table near the window." Rashid sat in that corner chair, imagining Amina there, reading quietly, sipping tea, smiling at the sunlight. He felt the emptiness around him, but he also felt a spark of determination. He could not give up. Next, he visited the small park where they had once celebrated their wedding anniversary. The swings creaked lightly in the breeze, and the scent of flowers reminded him of the bouquets Amina used to pick. Rashid walked slowly along the path, hoping to find even a single clue. Nothing. But he paused near the fountain where they had thrown coins together, making wishes. He remembered the wish they had made that day, a life filled with love, laughter, and togetherness. Rashid realized that he had let that wish fade. Feeling tired but unwilling to give up, Rashid returned home. He needed a plan. He could not simply wait for her to appear. He had to show her that he had changed, that he was willing to put everything aside to rebuild their relationship. He made a list of small gestures, things she loved, things she had mentioned over the years. He would start with these. That evening, Rashid prepared a small surprise. He cooked a simple dinner, something Amina had always enjoyed, her favorite vegetable stew and freshly baked bread. He set the table with care, placing flowers in the center and lighting a single candle. He knew she might not come, but this was the first step. He had to show her he remembered, that he cared, and that he was ready to change. As he finished, his phone rang. The name on the screen made his heart race. It was Amina. He answered immediately, his voice shaking slightly. "Rashid," she said softly. Her voice carried a mixture of surprise, caution, and something he had longed to hear: love. "Amina," he said quickly. I'm sorry. I understand now. I've been so blind, but I want to fix this. Can I see you? Please." There was a long pause. Rashid held his breath. Then she spoke. "Meet me at the bridge by the river," she said. "I need to see that you really mean it." Rashid hung up and immediately prepared himself. He left the house, driving carefully but with urgency. The city lights reflected on the water as he approached the bridge. He saw her standing there, looking at the river, her hair blowing in the soft evening breeze. She had always had a calm presence, but tonight, she looked fragile, yet determined. Rashid stepped closer, his heart pounding. "Amina," he said gently, keeping his distance so she would feel safe. "I've realized everything. I let work take me away from the person I love most. I don't want to lose you. Please, give me a chance to prove I can be the husband you deserve." Amina turned to him slowly, her eyes searching his. Rashid could see the emotions swirling: hurt, love, doubt, and hope. She finally spoke, her voice trembling slightly. "Rashid, I left because I needed to know if you would notice, if you would care enough to change. I love you, but I cannot be invisible in my own marriage. Can you promise me that things will be different?" Rashid nodded firmly. "I promise. No more ignoring, no more work over us. I will be present. I will listen, I will care, and I will never take you for granted again." Amina studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she stepped closer. Rashid felt a wave of relief and joy. It was not a complete solution, Not a final moment of happiness, but it was a beginning. A beginning of understanding, communication, and hope. They stood there together, looking at the river. The water reflected the lights of the city, sparkling like tiny stars. Rashid realized that love, once lost, could be found again, but only if one was willing to fight for it, to notice the small moments, and to value the person standing beside them. For the first time in a long while, Rashid felt complete, not because of money, or power, or success, but because he was facing the person he loved, ready to rebuild what had almost been lost forever. And as they left the bridge together, walking side by side, Rashid knew that this was just the start of a journey that would require patience, effort, and love, but one he was now ready to take. After leaving the bridge, Rashid and Amina walked slowly through the quiet streets. The city lights reflected softly on the pavement, and the evening air was calm. Rashid kept glancing at Amina, noticing the small details he had long ignored: the way she held herself, the subtle expressions on her face, and the warmth in her eyes. He realized he had never truly seen her before. "Amina," he said gently, "I know words are not enough. I need to show you that I can change." She nodded slowly, her eyes looking down at the ground. "Rashid, it's not just words. I need to know that you will be present, that we will share our life, not just exist together. Can you really do that?" Rashid took a deep breath. "Yes. I want to start today. I will make time for you, for us. No more work taking priority over our life. I will listen. I will care. I will notice the little things that matter to you." Amina's lips curved slightly into a small smile, but her eyes still held a cautious look. Rashid knew that earning back trust would take more than a few words. It would take consistent action. He understood this now, more clearly than ever. The next day, Rashid returned home with a new perspective. He began small, simple actions that could show Amina his commitment. He cleaned the house from top to bottom, cooked a fresh breakfast, and even prepared her favorite tea in the morning. It was not about perfection, it was about presence, about showing that he was thinking of her. When Amina returned home that evening, she noticed the small changes immediately. The table was set, the flowers on the counter looked fresh, and Rashid was waiting with a warm smile. "Rashid," she said softly, this feels different." "It is different," Rashid replied. "I want us to rebuild. Slowly, together, but with love and attention." For the next few weeks, Rashid made a conscious effort to spend time with Amina. They cooked together, took walks in the park, and even revisited the cafe where they had shared quiet mornings. Rashid listened to her stories without distraction, asked about her day, and shared small details about his own life that he had ignored before. Each day, the distance between them seemed to shrink, replaced by shared moments, laughter, and understanding. However, life was not without challenges. One evening, Rashid received a call from his business partner, asking him to attend an urgent meeting. Normally, Rashid would have rushed immediately, but this time, he paused. He looked at Amina, who was reading in the living room. Her eyes met his, and he saw a quiet expectation. "I can go tomorrow," he said firmly into the phone. "This evening is important to me." Hanging up, Rashid felt a small surge of pride. It was a simple choice, but it symbolized a larger change. For years, work had dominated his life. Now, he was choosing love over urgency. Amina noticed the look on his face and smiled, realizing that he was serious about his promises. One weekend, Rashid planned a small outing to the countryside, a place they had always wanted to visit but never had the time. They walked through fields, watched the sunset over rolling hills, and shared a picnic under a large tree. For the first time in a long while, they felt free from responsibilities, free to just be together. Rashid noticed the way Amina laughed at the simplest jokes and how her eyes sparkled in the sunlight. He realized that these were the moments he had been missing, the moments that truly mattered. Yet, even as they enjoyed these moments, Rashid knew he could not undo the past overnight. There were times when Amina's eyes would fill with doubt, or when a small disagreement would remind them of old tensions. But instead of ignoring these moments, Rashid faced them honestly. He listened, apologized, and worked with her to find solutions. Slowly, the walls they had built over years of neglect began to crumble. One evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the city lights, Amina spoke softly. "Rashid, I see the effort you are making, and it means more than you can imagine. I feel like we are really beginning to connect again. But I need you to promise me that this is not temporary. That you will continue to choose us, every day." Rashid took her hand in his, holding it gently. "I promise, Amina. I understand now that love is not just a feeling, it's action, attention, and care every single day. I will continue to choose us. Always." For the first time in months, Amina felt a sense of peace. She could see the change in Rashid, and she could feel his sincerity. The trust that had been shaken was slowly being rebuilt, like a fragile flower regaining strength after a storm. That night, as they sat together in silence, Rashid reflected on the journey so far. He realized that being a millionaire had not made him truly rich. The real wealth was in love, in shared moments, and in the small gestures that showed someone they were valued. He had been shocked when Amina left, but that shock had awakened him. Now, he was learning to live fully, with awareness and care. And as they watched the stars together, Rashid felt hope growing. There would be challenges ahead, but for the first time, he was ready to face them not alone, but with Amina by his side. The journey of rebuilding their love had begun, and he was determined to see it through, no matter how long it took. Rashid and Amina had begun to rebuild their life together, slowly but surely. The small gestures, the shared conversations, and the quiet evenings were helping them reconnect. Rashid felt lighter, happier, and more aware of what truly mattered. Yet, life has a way of testing even the strongest intentions. One morning, Rashid received a message from his business office. An unexpected problem had arisen. One of his key partners had made a serious mistake, threatening a major project. Normally, he would have rushed immediately, delegating and solving the issue before it became critical. But as he read the message, he glanced at Amina, who was sipping tea at the dining table. Her eyes met his, calm and expectant, reminding him of his promise. Rashid took a deep breath and made a decision. He called his partner. "I will handle it, but I will come after lunch," he said firmly. "Right now, I need to be with my family." Hanging up, Rashid felt a strange mixture of anxiety and relief. He knew the delay could create tension at work, but he also knew that this was the right choice. Amina smiled at him, and for a moment, Rashid realized that this was the life he wanted, not the one where work ruled over love, but a life where he could balance both, carefully and intentionally. That afternoon, they decided to take a short trip to the countryside again. It was early spring, and the fields were alive with color. Rashid watched Amina pick small flowers along the path, laughing softly when the wind blew her hair across her face. He felt a deep sense of gratitude. These were the moments he had long ignored, moments that money could never buy. But just as they began to feel peaceful, Rashid noticed Amina stop suddenly. Her smile faded, replaced by a worried expression. "What is it?" Rashid asked gently. She looked toward the edge of the path, where a small crowd had gathered. A child had fallen near the river, struggling to stay afloat. Rashid's heart raced. Without thinking, he ran toward the riverbank, ignoring the wet grass and the fear gripping him. He reached the child, scooped him up carefully, and carried him to safety. Amina ran to his side, her hands trembling. "Rashid, that was brave," she exclaimed. "You could have been hurt." Rashid smiled, holding the child securely. "It doesn't matter," he said. "Some things are more important than anything else. The child is safe, and that's what matters." The child's mother rushed forward, tears of gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you. Thank you so much. You saved my son." Rashid handed the child to her, feeling a strange mixture of relief and exhaustion. Amina took his hand, squeezing it gently. "I've never seen you like this," she said softly. This is the man I always knew you could be. Strong, caring, present." The incident at the river changed something between them. Rashid realized that being truly alive meant facing challenges, helping others, and acting with courage and kindness. He had been so focused on work and wealth that he had forgotten how powerful simple actions could be. Amina noticed the change too. She could see his determination, his attention, and his willingness to put others before himself. That evening, as they returned home, Rashid prepared a quiet dinner for just the two of them. The warmth in their home felt different now, full of life, care, and a sense of purpose. They talked long into the night, sharing stories, dreams, and plans for the future. Rashid realized that happiness was not a distant goal or a luxury, it was created in these moments, through love, presence, and connection. The next morning, Rashid woke early and looked at Amina, who was still asleep. He felt a surge of emotion. He had been given a second chance, not just with her, but with life itself. He quietly made breakfast, arranging it on the table with care, and added a small note: "Thank you for staying with me, even when I didn't deserve it. I will spend every day proving I am worthy of your love." When Amina woke, she found the breakfast and the note. Her eyes filled with tears, but this time they were tears of hope and love. She hugged Rashid tightly, and he felt her warmth wrap around him. It was a simple gesture, but it carried the weight of years of love, regret, and promise. They spent the day together, walking in the garden, reading books side by side, and laughing at small jokes. Each moment strengthened the bond they were rebuilding. Rashid realized that love was not about grand gestures or expensive gifts, it was about attention, care, and the willingness to act for the person you loved. As the sun began to set, casting golden light across their home, Rashid felt a sense of calm he had never known. The millionaire who once measured success by money and power now understood the true value of life. It was in love, presence, courage, and care, the things that could never be bought, only earned through effort and heart. And as they sat together, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance, Rashid knew that whatever challenges the future held, he and Amina would face them together. Their bond was no longer fragile, it had been tested, strengthened, and proven through actions, courage, and love. Rashid finally understood, the real wealth of life was not in the bank, the office, or the tall buildings of the city. It was in the moments of connection, care, and love shared with the person who mattered most. And he was determined to never forget that again. The days that followed were filled with a quiet, steady rhythm. Rashid continued to show Amina that his promises were real. He made time for her, listened carefully to her thoughts, and shared his own feelings without distraction. Their home, once silent and cold, now felt warm and alive. One morning, Rashid received a letter in the mail. It was unusual because most of his communication came through email or messages. He opened it carefully, curious about its contents. Inside was a simple note: "Rashid, I have something important to discuss. Please come to the old library on Elm Street at noon today. It's urgent." Rashid felt a knot of concern in his stomach. He could not ignore it. Amina was nearby, watering the flowers in the garden. He walked over to her and gently said, "Amina, I received a letter. Someone wants to meet me at the old library. I need to go, but I'll be careful." Amina looked at him, her eyes serious yet trusting. "Be careful, Rashid. I know you have to go, but don't take unnecessary risks." Rashid nodded. "I will be careful, I promise. I'll be back soon." The library was a quiet place, filled with tall shelves of books that smelled faintly of old paper. When Rashid arrived, a man in his late 40s was waiting. He introduced himself as Kareem, an old business associate who had once worked closely with Rashid's father. "Rashid," Kareem began, "there is something you need to know about your family business. A serious mistake has been discovered, one that could affect your reputation and the company's future. But more than that, I need to warn you, someone is trying to take advantage of your absence from the office." Rashid listened carefully, his mind racing. He had been so focused on his personal life and reconnecting with Amina that he had not noticed the growing tension in his business. "What do I need to do?" he asked, trying to remain calm. Kareem handed him a folder. "All the details are here. You must act quickly, but carefully. If you make the wrong move, it could ruin everything your family built. I know you want to focus on your personal life, Rashid, but this is a challenge you cannot ignore." Rashid took the folder, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He realized that life would never allow him to escape challenges entirely. Love, family, and work all demanded attention, and balance would be the key. Returning home, Rashid found Amina waiting for him on the balcony. She noticed the seriousness in his expression and said softly, "Something happened, didn't it?" Rashid nodded, taking her hand. "Yes. There's a problem at the office, and someone is trying to take advantage. But I will handle it carefully. I wanted to tell you first because you are a part of my life, and I need your support." Amina squeezed his hand. "I trust you, Rashid. I know you can manage it, but promise me you won't let it consume you. You've already proven that love and family matter more than work." Her words reminded Rashid of why he had been working to change. He had been a millionaire with a lonely heart, but now he was learning that true strength came from balance, caring for others while handling responsibility. Over the next week, Rashid worked tirelessly, reviewing documents, making calls, and meeting people who could help stabilize the situation. Yet, he did so without neglecting Amina. Each evening, he returned home and shared his progress, discussing not just business, but life, dreams, and the small joys they had discovered together. One evening, after a particularly long day, Rashid found Amina sitting by the window, sketching flowers in her notebook. He sat beside her and watched quietly. "You know," Amina said softly, "I used to worry that you would never truly change. But now, I see it. You care about us, and you care about life beyond work. That means more than you know." Rashid smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. I am learning, Amina. I've learned that wealth is not counted in money, but in love, time, and presence. You've taught me that. Their quiet evening was interrupted by a knock at the door. Rashid opened it to find Kareem, looking concerned. Rashid, you need to see this, he said, handing over a set of papers. Rashid scanned the documents and realized the magnitude of the problem. A rival company had tried to manipulate contracts, hoping to exploit Rashid's absence from the office. If left unchecked, it could have caused massive financial loss. Yet, thanks to Kareem's guidance and Rashid's careful planning, the damage was contained. He looked at Amina, who had followed him into the room, and said quietly, "This could have been overwhelming. But I managed it without losing sight of what matters. We are safe now, and I am here with you." Amina smiled, leaning her head against his shoulder. "Rashid, I am proud of you. You've proven that you can face challenges without losing yourself. That is the man I always knew you could be." Rashid realized that life's challenges would always come, but with love, care, and courage, he could face them without losing what mattered most. He had learned that wealth, work, and success were meaningful only when balanced with heart, presence, and love. As the night fell and the city lights twinkled outside, Rashid and Amina sat together, feeling stronger and closer than ever. Life had tested them, but it had also reminded them of the value of connection, care, and shared strength. And in that quiet moment, Rashid knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, united by love and trust. The following weeks felt like a new beginning for Rashid and Amina. Their home, once filled with silence and distance, now hummed with life. Morning breakfasts together, quiet walks in the garden, and long evenings talking about their dreams had become the new rhythm of their days. Rashid felt a deep sense of peace he had never known before. But life, as always, had a way of testing even the strongest bonds. One afternoon, Rashid received a call from the city council. A sudden inspection of one of his business properties required his immediate attention. Normally, he would have rushed straight there, but this time, he paused. He looked at Amina, who was sitting nearby reading a book. Her eyes met his, calm yet expectant. "I can go later," he said into the phone, "I need to be at home right now. I will come first thing tomorrow." Amina's face softened, and she smiled. "I'm glad," she said. "It's a small choice, but it shows me where your heart is." Rashid realized in that moment that every decision mattered. He did not need to abandon responsibility, but he also did not need to sacrifice the people who mattered most. He had learned that balance was not just a word, it was a way of living. That evening, they decided to celebrate quietly. Rashid had prepared a small surprise, a simple candlelit dinner in their garden. The flowers bloomed around them, and the warm glow of the candles reflected in Amina's eyes. It was not extravagant, but it was perfect in its simplicity. "Amina," Rashid said, holding her hand gently, "I want you to know how much I appreciate you. You've been patient, kind, and strong. I've learned so much from you, and I promise to never take your love for granted again." Amina smiled, tears of happiness glimmering in her eyes. "Rashid, you've changed in ways I never thought possible. I see the man I always knew you could be, the man I love. Thank you for showing me that love can grow again, even after distance and mistakes." They ate quietly, savoring the meal, but more importantly, savoring each other's company. For Rashid, it was a moment of true richness. He had money, power, and success, but these things now felt secondary to the life he was building with Amina. After dinner, they walked through the garden hand in hand. The moonlight reflected softly on the fountain, the same one where Rashid had once saved the child weeks earlier. That day had reminded him of courage, care, and the importance of being present not just for the people he loved, but for the world around him. As they reached the bench under the old oak tree, Rashid sat down, pulling Amina close. "I want to spend my life proving that I can be better, that I can be here for you, and that our love will never be neglected again," he said softly. Amina rested her head on his shoulder, her heart full. "I believe you, Rashid. We have faced challenges, and we have learned. Now, we can move forward together, stronger than before." Rashid looked at her, seeing not just his wife, but a partner, a friend, and the person who had opened his eyes to the meaning of life beyond money and work. He realized that the shock of her departure, the fear of losing her, and the lessons he had learned had all led him to this point. He had been forced to confront himself, to face his flaws, and to take action to repair what mattered most. The next morning, Rashid woke early and watched the sun rise with Amina by his side. The city below was beginning to stir, but up here, in their quiet garden, time seemed to slow. He felt a deep gratitude for love, for second chances, and for the clarity that had come from facing loss. As they sipped their tea, Rashid reflected on the journey. He had been shocked, frightened, and lost when Amina first left. Her absence had been a painful lesson, but it had also been a gift, an opportunity to change, to learn, and to value the most important things in life. He had discovered that true wealth was not measured in money or success, but in love, presence, and the shared moments that made life meaningful. Amina looked at him and smiled. "Rashid, I think we are ready for whatever comes next. Together." Rashid smiled back, feeling a calm certainty in his heart. "Yes, together," he said. "No matter what happens, we will face it side by side. I promise to keep choosing us every single day." And in that moment, standing together in the soft morning light, Rashid realized that the millionaire who had once measured life by numbers and contracts had truly become rich. Rich in love, understanding, and the knowledge that the most valuable moments in life were the ones shared with the people who mattered most. The city moved on around them, but for Rashid and Amina, time felt different now. Every day was an opportunity to care, to connect, and to treasure one another. They had faced fear, regret, and uncertainty, but they had emerged stronger, united, and full of hope. Rashid held Amina's hand tightly as they watched the sun rise, feeling a warmth in his chest that no wealth could ever provide. He knew that life would always have challenges, but he was ready. He had learned that true success was not measured by what you earned, but by what you loved and protected. Together, they stepped forward into the day, their hearts full, their bond stronger than ever, and their future filled with promise, love, and understanding. And for the first time in years, Rashid felt completely at home, not because of his wealth or luxury, but because of the woman beside him and the life they would continue to build together.